you able to? Okay.
3. We'll give a moment for everyone to rejoin. We do apologize for the technical issues. We'll be starting again with the most recent presentation from Mina Kasim, just starting that one over, and then continuing on with the event as planned. Hopefully people will join. Let's restart that video.
Hi, my name is Mena. I am an architecture researcher and educator. My project is titled Designing with Not For Open Research as an Ethical Practice, and I'm going to take you through it using the concept of ripples of change. At the center of everything I do is one principle. Research should be done with people, not on them. I believe that research does not belong on library shelves. It belongs in the environments where it can make real change. This is why my dissemination work focuses more on public-facing outputs than conventional academic publication. Not because I do not value scholarships, but because if the people who shaped my research can't access it, then I have failed them. For me, this is an ethical commitment. Disabled people are not my subjects. They are my co-researchers, co-authors, and co-designers. Everything you are about to see rippled out from that belief. The first rebel is my doctoral research on inclusive architecture for people with a learning disability. I worked in partnership with Cardiff People First, a self-advocacy organization led by people with a learning disability. I employed a disabled co-researcher, not as a tokenistic gesture. She shaped how the research was conducted in every stage. This made the research plan fluid, responsive to what the participants told us along the way. Every consent, every material was co-produced and made accessible. Additionally, I worked directly for the organization so I could understand accessibility from the inside. Cardiff People First now use this project as an exemplar of inclusive research practices. The second rebel is about spreading the word. This included local talks, national symposiums, international conferences, peer-reviewed journal articles, and my co-researcher was present at many of them. But the outputs I am proudest of are the accessible ones. A video explaining environmental barriers for people with learning disability won the Building and Cities PhD Video Challenge. A visual summary, won Cardiff University's Images of Research competition, and a narrative won Cardiff University's 3-minute thesis. Because if my participants who shaped this research cannot understand what I did with their contributions, then I'm a hypocrite. The third rebel is culture change. I brought the co-produced insights into my teaching, into architecture studio, design workshops, and different initiatives, addressing concepts that are not necessarily found in traditional architecture curricula. I extended this to my fellow PGRs and staff, advising colleagues on funding application and inclusive research design. At a broader level, I co-organized a series of interdisciplinary events detailed in our team's presentation today, creating spaces where disabled people present alongside academics and where the traditional hierarchy of expertise is challenged rather than reinforced. The, out, the outermost treble is where research enters the world. I co-designed a practical guide with people with a learning disability, disseminated to over 6,000 business owners and managers in Cardiff. I delivered inclusive design workshops with John Lewis and Waitrose teams, and I regularly support and engage in different inclusive design workshops. I also sit on the British Standard Institute drafting panel for BS 8300, the national standard for inclusive built environments. In the epilogue of my PhD thesis, I wrote, I can confidently say that my motivation to persist in this advocacy has grown. I can feel the drive in my heart, a passion that ignites a burning eagerness for the next steps and generate an endless stream of ideas for what to do next. I finished my degrees 4 months ago, and since then I have been developing projects that take this work to wider audiences across the globe, more open, more accessible, and more inclusive than before. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that brings us on to announcing the winner of this category, and that's Just de Vries from the University of Bristol for the role of calcifying phytoplankton biodiversity in ocean carbon cycling. So congratulations. I think it's over now to James.
Thanks very much, Phil. So we'll now move on to the Research Enablers category. This category was open to individuals or teams who support open research in any stage of the research process, generally as professional research support staff who do not hold a postdoctoral position, early career fellowship, lectureships or professorships, etc., tenured position or equivalent. And the judging panel was very pleased to see the submissions under this category and how they complemented the other submissions that we saw as part of the prize this year. And so we'd like to highlight the strengths that the submissions in this category systematically captured the interventions used to improve transparency, reproducibility, and research quality with clear and credible evidence. The work captured in these submissions was well grounded, and the panel applauds the work being done to ensure researchers are trained and informed about open research. It is this sort of work that drives the principles of open research into evidence-based best practice. So there are 3 shortlisted entries under this prize, and we'll first hear from Liz Martin-Silverstone.
There we go. Is that working? Great. So I just want to start by saying thank you for shortlisting me for this award. I am Liz. I'm a technical specialist and paleontologist at the University of Bristol. And basically throughout my career, I've always been really passionate about open science and open data. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've brought that forward, particularly with FAIR principles in the School of Earth Sciences at the university. So I will break it down into kind of 3 different areas that I think I've been sort of helping within the group rather than just a single project like the other talks that we've heard. This is more of a kind of general how I enable open research within the group. So first at the University of Bristol, within the School of Earth Science and the paleobiology group, I have been involved in kind of educating and assisting in other users making their research open. And then more internationally, I'm involved in a network of kind of best practice through workshops and publications. And then as a researcher, I have a PhD and I've done research in the past and still do a little bit, not very much, but a little bit, and how I kind of try to lead by example in doing that in my own research where possible. So just to start off, within the School of Earth Science, so I did a couple of years ago one of the UKRN Train the Trainer programs on from planning to publishing. And this moved forward into giving workshops with the school. So in the School of Earth Sciences, I gave a workshop a couple of years ago to staff and students, kind of focusing on how they can, from the beginning, make their data open and more easily publishable and kind of data management. This then turned into a lecture that I now give to all of our MSc students on open science and how they can prepare their data in a more easily open way going forward. A big part of my role is managing the XTM facility, or the X-ray tomography facility at the university. And in this, data management and making your data follow FAIR principles is really important. This is all computed tomography or CT scanning, and it results in really large data sets. So it's not uncommon for a single sample to be upwards of 10 gigabytes for a single one. It's quite expensive to collect, and it also is very time consuming. So I'm always pushing people to make sure that their data is open when they publish it and at the end of their projects, because it will save people money and time later on if they can access it. But also, it's better for everyone if your data is open. The problem is that these data sets can be absolutely enormous. So this image on the right is from a paper that I was recently involved with, which has about 1 terabyte of data. And of course, publishing 1 terabyte of data is very difficult to do in an open format. So what we're trying to do is, I have been talking to the university about how we can get these sort of data sets published and make them public. And also talking to the sort of community as a whole in the CT data community of what we can do about that. Which leads me into my international collaborations. So I'm part of a network called Nocturne, which is a worldwide network that looks at particularly data and FAIR principles within CT scanning. So I sit on the Open Science Committee, and we have published a couple of papers on best practice in CT data and how you can publish your things and make sure that everything follows FAIR principles. And that also led to a workshop that I gave a couple of years ago at a big paleontology conference on, again, CT data management and FAIR principles, which is actually being turned into a publication right now as well. And finally, just in my own kind of research, when I can do it, or more so in the past, I try to lead by example, and all of my first author publications, as much as I've been able to, have been open access, including when I was a self-funded PhD student, which was before the days of university-funded open research. So that was quite difficult to do. But I do my best, and also making the data available on either through the university repository or through online repositories, of which there are several for things like 3D data. And then I spend a lot of my role helping others set up these data repositories for their own data within our research group. I just want to say thank you to everyone, and particularly these people who have helped along the way. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Liz. The remaining two presentations will be recorded videos. The first one is from Joanne Hines.
A lot of research today is hard to reproduce, hard to evaluate, and often difficult to use beyond academia. This is particularly true in digital behaviour research when working with complex, sensitive, and rapidly evolving data. Our work focuses on how we can move from open research as a set of principles to something that actually works in practice. Digital behavioural data raises challenges that traditional research systems weren't designed for. The questions around consent, privacy, and data use become much more complex when data is scraped, donated, or derived from digital traces. At the same time, even when research is shared, it's often difficult to reproduce or reuse in practice. Importantly, many of these issues only become visible after publication, when harm or errors are much harder to address. Our approach is to focus on making open research usable in practice. And we do this by developing practical tools that research can actually use, generating evidence about what open research practices work and what doesn't, and building infrastructure and training to embed these practices into how research is done. This turns openness from an ideal into something that supports better research. One example of this approach is the DECIDE framework. In digital research, ethics is often treated as a one-off approval process, a form you can complete at the start of a project, but in reality, ethical issues evolve as research develops, especially when working with complex digital data. DECIDE is a practical framework for guiding ethical decision-making throughout the research life cycle. It shifts ethics from a static process to continuous reflection, with structured questions that researchers can revisit through planning, through to analysis and publication. So instead of asking, have we done ethics, it encourages ongoing reflection on what are the ethical implications now. Importantly, we designed this to be usable in practice with templates, flowcharts and tools that support these decisions over time. Alongside developing tools, we also focus on building evidence about what actually improves open research in practice. One area we've worked on is computational reproducibility, where the shared research assets like data and code can actually be used by other researchers. There's often an assumption that if research is open, then it's reproducible. But in reality, advocacy has outpaced evidence and we don't always know what works. In a pre-registered study, we tested this by assessing papers before and after journal policy changes, with researchers attempting to get shared materials running and evaluating their usability. What we found is that policy changes help, but effects vary and functionality often declines over time. This means that openness alone isn't enough, and reproducibility depends on how well materials are documented, maintained, and designed for reuse. This shifts open research from principle to evidence, helping journals and funders design more effective policies. We also apply this approach to practical barriers in research. One example is Optimate, which addresses a common problem, participant scheduling in group-based studies. This is often done manually, which is inefficient and can reduce attendance, which affects data quality. Optimate reframes this as a computational problem where researchers upload availability and the system generates schedules that maximizes attendance. We validated this through simulation and a large human sample, showing clear improvements in group allocation. And importantly, we released it as a fully open tool with code and documentation so that it can be used immediately by researchers across different disciplines. So this reflects our broader approach, identifying friction points in research and developing usable solutions. Beyond individual tools and studies, a key focus of our work is embedding open research into how research is actually done. For example, members of our group are actively involved in ethics committees and related initiatives, helping to integrate open research considerations directly into institutional review processes. We also focus on capacity building. Our doctoral researchers are trained to treat practices like pre-registration, data sharing, and reproducibility as standard, not as optional. And importantly, this is supported through community. We have regular lab meetings that create space to share work in progress, troubleshoot challenges, and learn from each other. So for us, open research isn't just about transparency, it's about building systems, skills, and cultures that are more usable and more impactful. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Joanne. And the final presentation we'll have is from Dania Hassan Al-Harasis.
Hi, we're Dania, Mena and Rebecca. We're 3 PhD researchers at Cardiff University who met through the Cardiff Interdisciplinary Network for Disability, and we're drawn together by a shared passion to amplify the voices of disabled and neurodivergent communities and improve the disabled lived experience. We bring together individual, professional and personal experience of disability with the aim to highlight the challenges faced by disabled and neurodivergent communities and improve disability research and best practice. Dania is a PhD researcher in the Welsh School of Architecture, developing advanced graph-based and machine learning-driven computational methods to evaluate and optimize spatial layouts for autism-friendly design. Mena is a PhD graduate who is also an architectural researcher, educator, and inclusive design specialist whose work centers the voices of disabled people. She has worked with the learning disabled community, and her thesis focused on the benefits of co-design in disability research. I'm a part-time PhD researcher in the School of Psychology who has lived and worked with disabled people. I research the neurophysiological mechanisms, environmental triggers, and behavioral consequences of sensory sensitivity. In my other role as an interior designer of commercial spaces, I promote inclusive design. Together, we push for opportunities to drive increased understanding of disability and believe strongly in the importance of hearing directly from disabled and neurodivergent communities to better understand lived experience. Through our combined work and events, we seek to change attitudes towards disability, highlight the importance of disability research, and promote the benefits of disability and neurodivergent inclusion in public spaces and workplaces for the benefits of business and individuals.
Our work can be summarized in 3 connected strands, all grounded in the same principle. Openness is not an add-on, it is our main thing. First is our training with the university. We held different workshops related to neurodiversity, which reached more than 50 students and staff and led to further requests, simply because our work was open, replicable, accessible, and grounded in real practice. Second is our industry-facing work. We delivered workshops for John Lewis and Waitrose, bringing designers, architects, and compliance specialists together to co-produce inclusive design guidance for the partnership. 2 of us are appointed to the British Standard Institute drafting panel for PS 8300, the National Guidance on Inclusive Environments, which means that we share our insights on a national level. Finally, is our interdisciplinary event. I would say these are our brand, funded 3 years running by Cardiff University's Research Culture Fund. These brought together up to 80 participants so far. Our attendees range between researchers, community organizations. Some examples are shown on the slide, and of course, at the heart of all this are the disabled people and neurodivergent communities. Our disabled and neurodivergent contributors are paid, named, and acknowledged as the experts they are. In all these 3 strands, we always aspire to be accessible, inclusive, and open for all.
And we are certainly not slowing down. We are thrilled to invite you all to tomorrow's event, Experiences of Disability 2026, Interdisciplinary Insights. This marks the 3rd edition of our annual series, and this year we are focusing specifically on the benefits and best practices of co-design. The core of this event is about breaking down silos. We are bringing together disabled people, researchers, and practitioners to shape research agendas together rather than in parallel. You will see this reflected on stage. We have encouraged all our speakers to present alongside their co-researchers, ensuring lived experience and academic expertise are given equal space and authority. If you can join us, our event takes place at Kubrick, Cardiff University, starting at 9:30 a.m. You can scan the QR code on the slide to register or find more details. But our impact goes beyond just tomorrow. If you want to see how this journey started, the reports and videos from our previous 2 events are now live on Orca. We have shared them as open resources so other institutions can build on the framework we have developed. Ultimately, we believe that open research in disability and neurodiversity has to mean more than just accessible outputs. It means fundamentally shifting our mindset to design the research process with disabled people and neurodivergent communities, not just for them. Thank you, and we hope to see many of you there tomorrow.
Thank you to Dania and the team. And thank you to all the nominees. It was lovely to see the wide range of enabling work you're all doing. And now it gives me great pleasure to announce that the winner of the Research Enablers category is Liz Martin-Silverstone from the University of Bristol for Fair and Open Earth Science at the University of Bristol. Congratulations, Liz.
Thank you very much.
And well done to all the nominees as well. So now I'll hand back to Dawn.
Thank you, James, and thanks, Phil, as well. And yes, before we close, I'd like to also offer my warmest congratulations to our prize winners today. Just to remind everybody, it was William Wadsworth and the Open Flexure project team, Hugh de Vries and Liz Martin Silverstone. Enormous well done to you all, and thanks for the outstanding contributions you've made to open research. Congratulations also to the nominees. It's such a great breadth and depth of work that has been profiled today. Also like to thank the speakers for today and to everyone else who's joined us online to make this such a thoughtful and engaging event, and quite energizing, actually. I'm feeling very energized now. Thanks also go to Sian Carr and the members of the GW4 Open Research Week Planning Group for all their hard work in arranging this year's prize, and also for so calmly and capably navigating the technical glitch that we encountered a bit earlier. Well done. And I guess that brings the formal part of today's programme to a close. I'd like to ask the prize winners, if you're present, to stay behind for a screenshot with myself and Melanie, the GW4 director. And thanks very much to everybody else. I hope to see you all soon.
Do we need to, if we end the event for the recording?
I think it will be okay because I think Liz and William are both presenters, so they will not be kicked out. I think it will be okay. Is that all right?
Fine.
Let's give it a try. Best of luck to everybody.
Thanks, Sian.